Under price discrimination, monopolist is in a position to charge different prices from different consumers or different prices at different places or for different uses or for different quantities. And accordingly, we are having different types of price discrimination. First is personal discrimination. Under personal discrimination, monopolist charges different prices from different persons. For example, doctor charging different fees from different patients, tutors charging different fees from different students, advocates charging different fees from different clients depending upon their capacity to pay or purchasing power reflected in the elasticity of demand. Under place discrimination, different prices are charged at different places. For example, airline fares may be low for north eastern places, which are hill areas. Similarly, there may be different prices in domestic and international market called as dumping, which we shall discuss shortly. Then we have trade discrimination. Their different prices are charged according to the uses to which the product may be put. For example, electricity, gas, water are supplied at cheaper rates for domestic or agriculture use than for commercial use. Likewise, Indian Railway charge less freight rates for certain goods like coal, food grains, etc. Time discrimination. Under time discrimination, price of the same product differs at different times. For example, telegram and telephone rates are different at different hours of the same day. Movie theaters can also charge more for the evening shows and less for the morning or afternoon show. Likewise, some restaurants may charge more at dinner time than at lunch time for the same food and service. And this helps in achieving the optimum utilization of the capacity. Monopolists can also charge different prices during different stages of the product life cycle. That is low price during introduction stage and more price during the growth or maturity stage. Product discrimination. When we purchase a product in bulk, that is of large size, lower prices may be charged. But when we purchase less quantity, higher price will be charged. We can also think of discrimination between peak and offload services, where more price may be charged during peak hours, where there is more demand is in bulk, and during off peak time, less price may be charged. And this discrimination can also be covered under time discrimination. Conditions for price discrimination. We know that price discrimination is not possible under perfect competition. It is possible only under imperfect competition, especially under monopoly. Two conditions are to be fulfilled for the successful implementation of price discrimination. First condition is market segmentation. This is necessary or feasibility condition. Monopolist can practice price discrimination when it is able to sell the product in separated submarkets. In such situation, the possibility of resale from a low price market to a high price market is ruled out. And this possibility will be there when there are some price differentials. Actually, the possibility of resale among different submarkets or the various groups of customers would render price discrimination ineffective. This condition shows that price discrimination is easier to apply in case of electricity, gas, water, or transport, or personal services like stage show, medical care. that are consumed by buyer which cannot be easily resold. Second condition, which is viability condition, is differences in the elasticity of demand. When the elasticity of demand is same in different market, price discrimination will be of no use. It will not be possible because in that situation, the paying capacity of the buyers in the two market will be identical. So price discrimination is successful when the market of the product can be divided into separate sections having different price elasticities of demand with no possibility of resale from one sub-market to another and no possibility of transfer of consumers from one market to get the benefits of the lower price. But price discrimination may become possible due to ignorance or laziness of the buyers about the different prices being charged by the monopolist. Price discrimination can also persist on account of irrational or illogical preferences or prejudices of the buyers. Price determination under price discrimination. Like any market form, price discrimination also aims to maximize the profits of the monopolist. Here, for the sake of simplicity, we are assuming that monopolist is selling his product in two submarkets with demand curves AR1 and AR2 respectively, and the corresponding marginal revenue curve MR1 and MR2 respectively. Price determination and the price discrimination has been shown through figure 14.10. Here, in the first submarket, the elasticity of demand is low while it is high in the second submarket. Aggregate marginal revenue curve is shown in the third part of this figure through horizontal summation of individual marginal revenue curve MR1 and MR2. For equilibrium, marginal cost curve should cut aggregate marginal revenue curve from below at say at point E, that is the rational condition for equilibrium, that is for maximum profits. In case you want to know about the equilibrium for the individual submarkets, we will have to draw a line segment parallel to x-axis, and this line segment cuts the individual marginal revenue curves of the two submarkets MR1 and MR2 at points E1 and E2 respectively. So these are the equilibrium for the two submarkets, and corresponding to these equilibrium E1 and E2, price charge in the first submarket will be OP1 while it is OP2 in the second submarket. We notice that in the first submarket, elasticity of demand is low, so higher price is being charged here, while it is high for the second submarket where low price is being charged. Equilibrium condition is satisfied in the first submarket, MR1 equal to MC. It is also satisfied for the second submarket at point E2, MR2 is equal to MC. It is also satisfied for the whole or aggregate market at point E, where MC is equal to aggregate marginal revenue. So the overall condition for equilibrium will be MR1 is equal to MR2 is equal to aggregate marginal revenue, which is also equal to marginal cost. So a discriminating monopolist produces and sells such quantities in each market at which marginal revenue in each of the market is equal to the combined or common marginal cost of production. And this is also equal to aggregate marginal revenue. Thus, monopolist will allocate sales between the separated markets until marginal revenue of the last unit sold in each market is the same. If the marginal revenue in one market happens to be more than that in other, it becomes profitable for the monopolist to divert sales from the other market towards this market. In other words, if the marginal revenues were unequal in the two submarkets, the discriminating monopolist could increase total revenue without affecting total cost by shifting sales from lower marginal revenue market to the higher one. The total output sold by the monopolist is OQ, which is divided between two submarkets OQ1 and OQ2. So the discriminating monopolist attains equilibrium by charging higher price in the submarket wherein the price elasticity of demand is low and lower price in the submarket wherein the price elasticity of demand is relatively higher. As a result, lower and higher output will be sold in the two markets respectively than otherwise. Dumping is a special case of price discrimination. The firm can practice price discrimination if it has a monopoly in the domestic market but faces perfect competition in the international market for the product. Here, the monopolist sells his product at a higher price in the home market and at a lower price in the foreign market. This is called as dumping. Since the firm virtually dumps the product at a very low price in the foreign market because of immense competition. But the monopolist doesn't suffer an overall loss. By exploiting the home market, it can raise the price above the average cost and earn monopoly profit, which might more than compensate for the foreign market losses, if any. Figure 14.11 illustrates the price discriminations under dumping. In this figure, MRD is the marginal revenue in the domestic market corresponding to its demand curve ARD. For international market, ARF equal to MRF are average revenue and marginal revenue curve. The monopolist would like to sell its product in the domestic market up to point C in this figure 14.11, beyond which marginal revenue of the domestic market will become lower and it will be appropriate to sell additional or surplus output in the international or foreign market. So we can assess BCE as the aggregate marginal revenue curve. Marginal cost cuts this curve at point E, which becomes the equilibrium of the monopolist. Monopolist will sell OQ2 quantity in the domestic market, QDQF in the foreign market. In the domestic market, price charge will be higher, that is OPG. In the foreign market, the price charge will be lower, that is OPF. The equilibrium condition for the domestic market is satisfied MRD is equal to MC. And for foreign market, MRF equal to MC. The profits of the monopolist will be given by the shaded area, which you can see in figure 14.11, which is equal to total revenue minus total cost. That is the area under aggregate marginal revenue curve minus area under marginal cost. Profit maximizing equilibrium condition of the discriminating monopolist can be written as MRD is equal to MRF, which is equal to aggregate marginal revenue, which is equal to marginal cost. Degrees of price discrimination. Discriminating monopolist adds to total revenue and profit through discrimination process, where he or she can get hold of the whole or portion of consumer surplus. Depending upon the magnitude of the surplus he or she can corner, we have three different types of price discrimination. First degree price discrimination. First degree price discrimination is the limiting or extreme case of price discrimination. Here the monopolist charges maximum possible price for every unit of the product according to the willingness of the individual consumer to pay, leaving no consumer surplus. It arises in the situation where monopolist is able to deal individually with every consumer for every distinct unit of the product he or she sells. This is a case of perfect price discrimination. This is illustrated in figure 14.12. Here, no consumer surplus is left with the consumer. The total revenue earned by the monopolist is shown by the shaded area for OQ units of the product. So maximum price OD will be charged for the first unit and CQ for the last unit. Second degree price discrimination. Second degree price discrimination arises when the monopolist is in a position to extract large part of consumer surplus by selling different quantities of the product at more than two prices to different groups of consumers. The idea here is not to capture the whole consumer surplus as under perfect price discrimination, but to corner as much consumer surplus as possible. The second degree price discrimination is generally adopted by public utility enterprises like electricity, gas supplies, telephones, waterworks. Second degree price discrimination situation has been depicted in figure 14.13. Here we find that for OQ1 units, the consumer surplus is shown by the shaded area DP1B1. For Q1, Q2 units, it is B1, C1, B2. For Q2, Q3 units, it is B2, C2, B3, and for remaining Q3, Q4 units, the consumer surplus is B3, C3, P4. Now we have the third degree price discrimination, about which we have just seen in diagram form how price is determined. Here the monopolist divides the market in two or more sub-market with different price elasticities of demand, and different prices are charged from each one of them. This is the most common form of price discrimination. Concessions to students in publications, cinemas, transportation are some examples. Unlike second degree price discrimination, here the price charged in each submarket need not be the lowest demand price which the market unit of product and submarket is able to get. Difference between simple monopoly and discriminating monopoly. And that explains the desirability of price discrimination. Under simple monopoly, uniform price for the product is charged from all the customers, while under discriminating monopoly, different prices are charged. The question of desirability of price discrimination involves moral judgment. It is beneficial in the sense production under discriminating monopolies is generally more than under simple monopoly. On account of different prices, the monopolist can sell greater quantity of output to more people. Concessional freight rates for certain low priced and bulky essential commodities like coal help in the optimal utilization of the railway space. So long as these rates are high enough to cover the operating cost or variable cost and make some contribution toward the fixed cost, both railways and public will gain by discriminatory rates. If all traffic were to be charged on the basis of cost of production or cost of service principle, certain classes of traffic will not be forthcoming at all, resulting in underutilization of capacity. The system of charging discriminatory fares under different classes in railway is also in the interest of the poor people. Likewise, the practice of charging low fee from poor patients and a high fee from rich ones by the doctors may be justified on economical and social grounds. As a result, the economically weaker sections of the society have access to these essential specialized services. In the absence of price discrimination, the fees of the doctor may rise beyond the capacity of many patients. Here, thus, price discrimination raises the total output of the monopolized service and reduces inequalities in the distribution of income and wealth. Social costs of monopoly, that is, allocative inefficiency and deadweight loss under monopoly. Under perfect competition, allocative efficiency is not achieved. Rather, it is not achieved under monopoly under unlike perfect competition. It implies that output is produced below the competitive output level and consumer surpluses also decline and producer surpluses increase as shown in figure 14.14. Here we find that Under perfect competition, the price charge is OPC and the output sold is OQC, that is more output being sold. Whereas under monopoly, price charge is OPM and the output sold will be OQM. In both the market equilibrium conditions, MC equal to MRM or MRC as the case may be are satisfied. So we find that monopolist faces allocative inefficiency since monopoly price OPM is higher than competitive price OPC and quantity sold by the monopolist OQM is less than the competitive quantity OQC. Higher price and lesser quantity causes transfer of benefits equal to the area PCPMBA from consumers to producers. Efficiency loss, deadweight loss, that means something which is neither going to consumers or producer, which is equal to the area BAEC. Loss suffered by the consumer is equal to BAEC due to higher price OPM and lesser quantity OQM. And the loss suffered by the producer is equal to the area AEMEC, which is due to fall in output by AEC and resultant loss of revenue for not producing this output. Now let us make comparison between perfect competition and monopoly. Perfect competition and monopoly are two extreme market forms. Whereas there is only one seller under monopoly, there are large number of sellers under perfect competition. Nature of product is identical under perfect competition, which is unique under monopoly. There is free entry and free exit under perfect competition, but there are barriers to entry under monopoly. There is only one decision variable for the form under perfect competition, which is determination of output, since every firm is price taker. Under monopoly, since there is no difference between firm and industry, firm is price maker, so monopoly firm can decide output or price, but not both. Under perfect competition, marginal revenue is equal to average revenue. So at the point of equilibrium, price is equal to marginal cost. But in the case of monopoly, price or average revenue is more than marginal revenue. So under equilibrium, price is more than marginal cost. Further, for a competitive firm, equilibrium is possible only when MC curve is rising, but monopoly equilibrium can be established whether MC is rising, falling, or is constant. Capacity utilization. Under perfect competition, the firm operates at the minimum point of long run average cost curve. But in the case of monopoly, the firm generally operates at the falling portion of long run average cost curve, leading to unutilized excess capacity. Under perfect competition, rising portion of the marginal cost curve is the supply curve, which is just above the shutdown point. But in the case of monopoly, there is no unique supply curve. Hence, same quantity may be supplied at different prices, or for same price, different quantities may be supplied. Under perfect competition, price is lower and output is more. Reverse is the case under monopoly. Under perfect competition, resource allocation is optimum. Social welfare is maximum since competitive firm equates price with the marginal cost. That is not the case under monopoly, where price is charged which is higher than marginal cost of production, leading to dead weight loss, which is the social cost of monopoly. As we can see from figure 14.15 Under perfect competition, we have maximum consumer surplus given by triangular area CPCEC. In the case of monopoly, consumer surplus is a very small triangular area CPMB. The rectangular area PMBEMPC is retained by the monopolist as profits because of monopolistic power, and the area BEMEC is neither going to consumers or producers. It is dead weight loss or social loss. We find that monopoly is not an unmixed evil. It has a case for itself because we can avail the advantage of large scale production, economies of scale, where monopolists can spend on innovation and technological process, consumer can get something new. It ensures saving of expenditure on transportation, advertisement, and publicity. It is also easier to face foreign competition by a monopolist firm than competitive one. Monopoly is especially useful in public utilities, which produce essential goods and services. There are certain arguments which are against monopoly. It charges very high price, secure maximum monopoly revenue. So consumer have no option but to pay the price fixed by the monopolist. So exploitative tendency of the monopolist is a curse for the consumers. It also leads to distortion of resource allocation. It leads to inefficiency at the production doesn't take place at the minimum point of average cost curve. There is excess capacity due to restriction of output. Unfair practices are also there that eliminate rival firms through cutthroat competition by the monopolists. Monopolist, by virtue of control over capital and wealth, is able to influence the political affairs of the economy. Political authority generally cannot ignore or dissatisfy the monopolist. Monopolist has disadvantage of price discrimination also that has other evils. Natural monopoly, as already explained, it is the monopoly emerging from the natural forces where small size of the market doesn't make operation of so many firms economically viable. It acts as a natural deterrent for other enterprises to cater to market demand. But government generally disallows natural monopoly in the private sector because producers in the private sector have tendency to restrict the output by raising the price in order to get huge profits. In India, Telecom Regulatory Authority and Insurance Regulatory Authority have been created to regulate big market players in the area of telecommunication and insurance respectively.